The Tampa Bay Buccaneers lose to the Brock Purdy-led San Francisco 49ers. And you know what? I think it's okay. I am willing to say quality loss here to the 49ers, even though listen, it looked like they were going to lose by a million at a certain point. They ended up not losing by a million, still losing by a lot in this game. But I think it could have been a lot worse. And I do think that they showed some nice things. Now, the injuries are concerning. The injuries are, to me, the worst part about this game. They lost to Jamel Dean. They lost to Jamel Dean. They lost Jamel Dean. They lost Levante David. Wirfs did get banged up, but he came back into the game. So it's David and Dean that I am worried about. Dean on that weird play where he gave up that 76-yard touchdown, where it was just a weird situation for him. I do wonder, just like, did the injury affect that play, or was it just he got injured after that play? Because it was just a weird way he went up to get the ball. But regardless, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, losing this one. Let's talk about the game for a bit. Now let's talk about why I'm maybe not so concerned. Here's why I am a little concerned, is Brock Purdy did at times light up this defense. And Brock Purdy's very good. I think he's very good. The 49ers offense is very good. I mean, like Christian McCaffrey made some plays. Christian McCaffrey's going to make some plays, right? Like everyone, I saw people getting on Devin White for that passing touchdown to McCaffrey. That was really well schemed up play. Like, I'm not going to crush Devin White for that. And you know me, I love to crush Devin White when it's deserved. I didn't think it was in this game. Holding McCaffrey to 3.7 yards per carry is pretty good, and part of how they were able to get back into it is the Niners tried to see if they could, run out the clock a little bit with McCaffrey. Doesn't really work against Tampa Bay, and that allows the Buccaneers to get back into games. That's a part of it. Everyone talks about why the Buccaneers play so much better, once they're down in games. Part of it is because when teams try to run out the clock, it doesn't really work. There's other aspects of it. There's for sure other aspects of it. I think one thing that we have to talk about is I don't know what kind of game plan they had offensively in this one. It was a dumb game plan. When we previewed this game, when Kyle and I previewed this game, the one thing we talked about, the one advantage Tampa Bay had was, they can throw the ball down the field. They should be able to throw the ball down the field. The Niners have had some issues at times defending the pass, especially on the outside with some of their corners. And they were playing two safety deep for sure. And I do think that, their own injury, losing Hufanga, that really affected things from their perspective. So I do think that was part of also what got Tampa Bay back in it. But, they were protecting down the field. That's what they were trying to do. For me, for my personal, the way I view it, you got to find ways to get the ball down the field. Scheme stuff up. Do what you have to do. Don't run the ball every single play just to run the ball and have it look, good carries-wise. And it's another one where, it kind of reminds me of last year a lot, where you look at the carries versus runs, and you might be thinking, wow, they barely ran the ball in that game. But if you watch the game itself, you see that they had a very cautious approach throughout, which at times was working okay. But that's also kind of the issue, right? So there was that long drive that ended in a Baker Mayfield fumble, which was a bad fumble, in my opinion, by Mayfield. No reason to run around like that. He was asking for trouble, in my opinion. But, regardless, it's like, on one hand, the drive was kind of working. You were getting first downs. Like, can you really criticize the play calling if it's working? On the other hand, it's like, that's part of the issue. This is an offense that's going to make mistakes. They didn't really have many crucial penalties in this game. In fact, I'm not sure how many penalties they even had in this game offensively. But despite the fact that with that, you're going to just thinking, generally speaking, you're going to have some penalties, and you're going to have some fumbles, some receivers dropping footballs. Like, that's going to happen to some degree. You need to get more opportunities, and there's too many of these drives that are run the ball, run screen pass, and then hope you convert on a third down. They were good on third downs today, but you can't let that happen. And once they kind of finally started pushing the ball down the field, things got better. Chris Godwin ended up tied for the most receptions. Him and Rachaad White each had 6. Godwin didn't have a single reception in the first half. And I think part of why we saw this offense kind of, look better towards the end of the game, even though only 7 points, but they looked much better, was because of that. I know it was a 10-3 game at the end of the first half, but this was not a close game in that spot. It was close score-wise, but the Niners clearly, to me, looked like the better team at that point. And there was only, I think, each team had 3 drives, so that was a big part of why it was able to be closer. And the overall numbers are still massively in the 49ers' favor. I mean, for one thing, 27-14, that's massively in San Francisco's favor. But yards per play, I mean, the Niners had 7.1 yards per play versus Tampa Bay's 4.3. But again, how much of that comes into, you get 176-yard play, that helps things. Definitely have to do a better job, for Tampa Bay of not letting that happen. But again, I don't know how healthy Dean was and all of that. Listen, here's why I'm not as concerned. San Francisco's really good. San Francisco might be the best team in football. We're talking about the Jaguars as like an obvious playoff team, and look at what they did. San Francisco did to them. This is kind of what the Niners can do to you. So in many ways, this was definitely a disappointing game. At the same time, we expected this to be a loss, and I thought they showed a lot of fight in this game, and not even showed a lot of fight, but showed they can make things happen. They're still going to have annoying coaching things, but, their defense did actually start playing better towards the end, even on the passing plays, so you do have that to work on. They just got to, and quite frankly, there was a couple of plays in that, they basically had a touchdown that would have brought them within one score. It wasn't dropped because it would have been a tough play. I forget exactly who it was who was diving out. I think it was Tompkins. But, they had an opportunity there. So they were very close to being able to be in position to potentially tie this game. It wasn't able to happen. But again, for me, I want to make the playoffs. That's my goal as a Buccaneers fan, is I would like to see us make the playoffs and then probably get smoked round 1. That's how I view this. They are currently 4-6. The Saints are 5-5. But you play the Saints. And if you win, then you would have the tiebreaker because you beat the Saints earlier in the year. So you have that as an opportunity. And the games, just going to list them off. I also tweeted this if you want to see that. But it's Colts, Panthers, Falcons, Packers, Jaguars, Saints, and then Panthers again. So the way I see it, a ton of winnable games on the schedule, and I think if you go 5-2 or 9-8, I think that gets you into the playoffs in the NFC South. So you can chalk up the Jaguars to a loss, and then you have to go 5-1 in the other 6 games. And I'm not saying there's a guarantee that you beat the Colts, the Falcons, the Packers, or the Saints. There's also not a guarantee you beat the Panthers, although if you want to make the playoffs, you kind of got to do that. But if we assume they lose to Jacksonville and beat the Panthers, then what do you have to do? You have to go, 3-1 in the other 4 games. And even, honestly, 2-2 might be enough if those 2 wins are against Atlanta and against New Orleans. Big game against the Colts next week, who have not been playing poor football. Got to win that one. If you win that one, you then play the Panthers. Just like that, you could be 500 down the stretch. If you lose, though, it might be over. So, that's the game that you have to win. That's what I think about all this. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.